This is lesson 44. The warm-up: use graphing to determine the solutions to the system. So we can graph these equations. Let's say we'll do this one in orange. Y equals negative x plus 5. We can see that we have a y-intercept at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And our slope is negative 1, so we're going down 1 over 1. Or down 5 over 5. And we draw our lines. Our next equation, y equals x plus 1, y-intercept is at 1, slope is 1, and we can see we run into each other right there. Draw our lines. And we have a point of intersection at 2, 3. Homework questions we'll skip. Today we're going over lesson 44, solving systems of linear equations by substitution. So, substitution method. In the substitution method, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to solve one of the equations for one of its variables. So our first step, solve one of the equations for one of its variables. I can take this top equation here, and I can solve this for y in one step. And that's the thing we want to look for, is how quickly can how many steps, which equation is going to be the shortest. And both of them are the same, but I just picked the top one. So if we add x to both sides, we get y equals x plus 1. So now we have a value for y. Y equals x plus 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to substitute in our value of y in for y in our other equation. That's why this method is called substitution. So we solve one of our equations for one of the variables, and now we substitute that variable in to our other equation. So what is that variable equal to? It's equal to x. It's equal to x plus 1. So now we just finish off. If you notice, when we substitute that in, we don't have any more y's, we just have x's. So we can finish this by combining our like terms and solving for x. So we've got 2x and x, that makes 3x plus 1 equals negative 2. Subtract 1, and we get 3x equals negative 3. Divide by 3, and x equals negative 1. Now we're going to take that value of x and we're going to substitute it back into this equation that we made. And so we've got y equals x plus 1, and we're substituting in our negative 1 because that's what x is. And now it will give us a value of y. Negative 1 plus 1 equals 0. So that's the point, negative 1, 0. We can check this by graphing. If we graph these equations, our equations were negative x plus y equals 1, and 2x plus y equals negative 2. Let's see if this works. That's not going to work. Anyway, if we graphed it, we'd see that that they intersected at, we can graph this. Y equals x plus 1 is going to have a y-intercept at 1 and a slope of up 1 over 1. And 2x plus y equals negative 2 is going to have an x-intercept at negative 1 and a slope, and a y-intercept at negative 2. So it's going down 2 over 1. And we can see that they intersect at negative 1, 0. Our steps to solving an equation using substitution. Step 1, solve one of the equations for one of its variables. Step 2, substitute the expression from step 1 into the other equation and solve for the other variables. We want to have these memorized. Step 3, substitute the value from step 2 into the revised equation from step 1 and solve. And then step 4 to check our solution in each of the original equations, so plug it in at the end. That was what we did in lesson 42. So here's your example. You guys try and do this. Take a second, hit pause, and do the work. So if we look at this first problem, we've got 3x plus y equals 5. I can solve that for y in one step. Subtract 3x, subtract 3x. And we get y equals negative 3x plus 5. We're going to take this value of y and we're going to substitute in for y in this second equation. So our second equation would be 2x minus y equals 10. And we're going to substitute in a negative 3x plus 5. So when we substitute that in, I've got a negative sign out in front. See this negative sign out in front of my y? So I need to distribute that. So negative times negative 3x makes positive 3x, and negative 1 times 5 makes negative 5. And so we combine our like terms and we get 5x minus 5 equals 10. If we add 5 and add 5, we get 5x equals 15. And then we divide by 5 and we get x equals 3. And now we're going to substitute this value of x in for x here. And we're going to get y equals negative 3 times x plus 5. And we substitute in our value of x, which was 3. And y equals negative 9 plus 5. So y equals negative 4. So that's the point 3, negative 4. We could check ourselves by graphing. We've got one equation that we solve for y equals negative 3x plus 5, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down 3 over 1, 1, 2, 3 over 1, down 3 over 1. And we've got a line that looks something like this. And our second equation, well, we could solve this for well, let's do this in a different color. How about green? We can see our x-intercept 2x equals 10, so our x-intercept is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And our y-intercept, negative y equals 10, so y-intercept is negative 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And pretend I can draw a straight line, and we're going to meet over here at 3, negative 4. More substitution method. Let's say we get well, we can solve the second equation for y by adding 4y to both sides. Add 4y to both sides, and we get x equals 4y minus 1. we're going to substitute this value of x in for x in our top equation. We'll rewrite that 2x plus 2y equals 3, and we're substituting in a 4y minus 1. So we need to distribute our x. That makes 8y, and 2 times negative 1 makes negative 2, plus 2y equals 3. Combine our like terms and we get 10y minus 2 equals 3. Add 2 to both sides. 10y equals 5. Divide by 10. And thank you for saying 1/2 and not 2. So our y value is 1/2. We're going to substitute that value of y in for y in our other equation. X equals 4 times y minus 1. And we're substituting in a 1/2. It's a fraction. Half of 4 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So our solution is 1/1/2. You guys try these too. So pause it and try them. This first one's already solved for x, so we're going to substitute that in for x in our top equation. I read it over here. 2 times x plus 6y equals 15, and we're substituting in a 2y for x. 2 times 2y makes 4y plus 6y equals 15. We'll combine like terms and we'll get 10y equals 15, and we'll divide by 10 and we'll get y equals 3/2, and now we'll substitute that in for y over here, and so we'll get x equals 2 times y, and we're substituting in a 3/2. Well, that's 2 over 1. Our 2's simplify, and we get x equals 3. So that's the point 3/2. Our next equation, well, we can take this bottom equation, and if we solve this bottom equation, x plus y equals -7. It's negative x plus y equals -7. By adding x to both sides, we get y equals x minus 7. And we can take that value of y and substitute it in for y in our other equation, which is x plus 2y equals 4. Substitute it in x minus 7. Distribute a 2. X plus 2x minus 14 equals 4. That's a 14. So we'll combine like terms and get 3x minus 14 equals 4. We'll add 14 to both sides, and 3x equals 18. Divide by 3, and x equals 6. Substitute this in for x, and we get y equals x minus 7, and we're substituting in a 6, and y equals -1. So that's the point 6, -1. So those are both those equations again. And our lesson today is homework 44.